What's up, peeps? Nick Battle, aka NinosCorner, man. First off, if you like this content that is coming your way, hit that subscribe button. It means a ton. Hit that bell, get all my notifications for all my videos. And folks, if you're listening to this on the streaming podcast platform, whether it is Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, Breaker, like, comment, subscribe, 5-star reviews and comments mean a lot. Share it with your best friends. Let everybody know this is the channel to go to. But folks, today we're going to talk about the recent hire at the wide receiver position coach for the University of Texas. Texas snags Chris Jackson, who's the former wide receiver coach for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And we're going to just talk about why that is a great hire here at the University of Texas. But prior to that, folks, let's get into our sponsors. First sponsor, folks, is brought to you by BetUS.com. Go to BetUS.com, get yourself a 125% sign-up bonus using the promo code NinosCorner, or just go down in the description for this video, click that link, and it'll take you right there. That's free money, folks. It's a 125% sign-up bonus, free money. Next sponsor, folks, is our usual, folks, Manscaped.com. Go to Manscaped.com, use the promo code NinosCorner, 20% off and free worldwide shipping. Folks, it's the same products you're going to see at Target, but 20% more if you don't use this promo code. And did I say free worldwide shipping? So free shipping to your front door. Use that. Manscaped.com. NinosCorner is the promo code. Get you some free stuff. Not free stuff, but a discounted product. Anything on their website. But folks, we're here to talk about the recent hire of Chris Jackson as the wide receiver coach for the University of Texas, moving from the same position from the pro level, from the Jacksonville Jaguars down. So, folks, who was Chris Jackson? Well, Chris Jackson, folks, let's get into this. 1995, he went to Orange Coast College and then transferred to Washington State for the 96 and 97 season. 1997, he had 54 catches for 1,005 yards and 11 touchdowns. Folks, that's almost 20 yards a catch. Went undrafted to the NFL from 98 until 2003, played for 5 different teams: Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Seahawks, the Titans, Green Bay, and the Dolphins. After leaving the NFL for 5 years, folks, he ended up leaving and going to the Arena Football League, where he is still currently ranked the second highest, the second most reception touchdowns in the Arena Football history with 325 touchdowns. But folks, let's talk about his coaching career. He doesn't have a vast coaching career. Coaching the pros as an assistant wide receiver coach for the 20 and the 2021 season for the Chicago Bears. But then he took over the show for the Jacksonville Jaguars for the 2022 season, and he was the wide receiver coach there. And one thing I will say, Coach Doug Peterson is one of the best offensive minds in the NFL. And if he trusts you with any position on the offensive side of the ball, you have to trust his evaluation. We've seen what he's done with guys like Carson Wentz. We've seen what he's done with guys like Nick Foles. We have seen what he has done with Trevor Lawrence this year. And so I trust this evaluation on that wide receiver coach, who might be one of the more important positions in that offense behind his quarterback and Trevor Lawrence. Now, folks, if we're just going to take a look at some of the stats from some of the players this year, just to see how well they did or did not do with Chris Jackson, folks, they did really well. Guys like Christian Kirk and Zay Jones had their best seasons in their career. Christian Kirk, his 5th season, best season has been underneath Jackson. Zay Jones, who a lot of people had a lot of lofty expectations for when he came out of college, especially when he was at Buffalo. He was a fantasy pick. Everybody's like, oh, Zay Jones. He had his best season this year underneath the tutelage of Chris Jackson. So if we go take a look at the 2021 season for Christian Kirk, he had 77 receptions for 982 yards and 5 touchdowns at 12.8 yards a clip. Now, if you go take a look at his 2022 season underneath Jackson, folks, 84 catches, 1,108 yards, 8 touchdowns, and 13.2 yards a clip. So, folks, guess what that means? Almost an additional half yard per reception underneath the coaching of Chris Jackson. Now, folks, if you take a look at Zay Jones last year in 2021, 47 catches, 546 yards, 11.6 yards of reception, and only 1 touchdown. Now, if you go take a look at what he did this year, much better season, 82 catches, 823 yards, only 10 yards of reception, a little dip down there, folks, by about a yard, but he had 5 touchdowns. So he had big plays this year underneath Chris Jackson. So just kind of goes to show you just what kind of coach he is. He can get the best out of his players, especially 2 young players have really gotten developed this year underneath his tutelage and have become the best version of themselves underneath Chris Jackson. What do we like about Chris Jackson, though? He's a grown man. He's 47 years old. And so you're getting somebody who is a mature individual coming to coach that wide receiver room. And I think that is one of the positions where you do need a mature person in that room, because wide receivers, we all know, they got egos. They got egos. Give me the ball. They only get the ball thrown to them so many times a game. It's not like quarterback where they're going to have the ball in their hands all the time. It's not like running back where if you have a steady running back and one guy's running the ball, he's going to touch the guy. He should touch the ball about 20 times a game. But wide receivers, you got to feed 3 or 4 of them along with a tight end. And so you got to spread the wealth. And so you got to manage the egos in that room. And I think that is something that Steve Sarkisian was pretty much looking for here in this hire, was getting a guy like Chris Jackson who can manage that room, because he is a wide receiver who has done it at the highest levels, who had a really good, stint at Washington State, which ended up getting him on a team. Even though it was undrafted, he was able to go and play 5 years in the NFL. And then once that worked out and did 5 years there, he ended up going to the Arena Football League, and that worked out as well. Very successful as well. So you have a guy who not only played well in college, he did his thing in the NFL as well, and also did his thing in the Arena Football League. And he's a guy that's going to go into that room, and the kids are going to command respect. Well, he's going to command respect from those kids. Those kids are going to respect him. Those young men are going to respect him for the simple fact that they know he has done what they are trying to do. And so you can even look at some of his interviews. He's a grown man. We need that in the worst way. Got to manage those egos. One thing I did see that I didn't really take notice about this until just recently. I saw that he went to high school at Mater Dei High School in California, which could be the potential of opening up a pipeline for the recruiting state of California, getting players from that school, which is one of the best schools in that state when it comes to producing talent. Now, even though we're talking about recruiting pipelines, that is a knock on him, though, folks, is that we don't know what kind of recruiter he is. So I wouldn't say it's a knock yet. We just don't know. We don't know if he can recruit or not because he hasn't done it yet. But I believe, just hearing him talk in some of his interviews, he's going to be a guy that he can go sit in some of those young men's room, and their parents are going to feel very comfortable sending their kid to go get coached by him, to go get led and mentored by him, because seems like he's a really good guy, and he seems like a guy who knows what he wants in life. He's not somebody who's probably going to try to jump like we've had before, having wide receiver coaches that, with Brennan Marion. Brennan Marion's a good wide receiver coach, but ends up leaving for UNLV to become the OC. And you can't blame him. These guys are young and they're trying to be fast pacers and risers within the college football coaching realm. But getting a guy like this, who's basically making a lateral move. He's making a lateral move from the pros and the college. And to be honest, he's doing more work at the college level, coaching wide receivers, because he does have the egos to deal with, and he has to go recruit. That's a full-time job just to recruit alone. But he's going to be one of those coaches that Coach Sarkisian can send in somebody's house and know and understand that family is going to feel very comfortable with their child in his hands. And I don't think you can understate that at all. That's a big thing. Managing egos in that room and understanding that when mom and dad are at home, they know that they got somebody looking out for their baby, just like they would also. Not to say that a young coach couldn't do it, but an older person, an older coach is going to understand it a lot more, because one, he probably has children himself. He's married and he's a grown man. Last thing that I want to talk about, folks, is a lot of good is going to come out of this. I believe the only downside to what happened to some of the players who are at Jacksonville this year, which wasn't a plus when I started looking at the stats, they had more drops this year than they did the previous year. And, I don't know, that could be coaching. That could be just players not being mentally focused on the game at that point. So like Kirk, so Christian Kirk last year, he had 6 drops in 21. He had 8 this year in 22. Zay Jones had 1 drop in 2021. This year he had 8 as well. So an increase of 7 drops over a season. That's a lot. So Marvin Jones III, he had 3 drops last year. He had 6 this year. And Agnew had 3 drops last year and 3 this year. But if you take a look at the top 4 wide receivers, last year they had a combined 13 drops. This year they had a combined 25 drops. So that's almost double, folks. So that's something that we got to take into account. Is that coaching? Is that a lack of, focus from the players? That's something that we're going to find out here soon. Hopefully there's a lack of focus from the players. But I haven't had time to look at the film and see exactly how those drops happen. But that's pretty much the only thing I can think of that just from a stat wise, where he wasn't an upgrade to the two best players when it comes to the wide receiver position on that team. It's the only drawback on that was that they did have more drops in the 2022 season than they did in the 2021 season. And also, we do not know what his coaching pedigree, well, not his coaching, but his recruiting pedigree is going to be. Is he going to be an ace recruiter? And that's kind of what you want from those position coaches. We've seen, hey, Tashard Choice, ex-NFL guy, he's a hell of a recruiter. We're hoping that we can get that same thing from the recruiting aspect from a guy like Chris Jackson. We know he's going to be a good coach. He's coached a grown men, in the NFL, had to manage egos of guys who are getting game checks every day that are very, very fruitful. And now he's going to have to manage guys who are getting game checks now this year, not game checks, but NIL checks this year at the wide receiver position here at Texas. But on that note, folks, man, I want to tell you guys to do you. Don't be afraid to fail. Outgrow your environment. Understand your brilliance. Ninos Corner. I'm out. Horns always up.